Cult of the old or cult of the new? What do you think?
Both.
Okay.
Hey, gamer friends, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Josiah, and we are ready to roll.
I've heard a lot of discussion about cult of the old versus cult of the new and like which one is better. And there are people in both camps that seem like diehard in both camps.
Right.
And so I just thought this is a fun discussion. We should really talk about this and get you guys' opinion on it. I just thought it'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah. So what do we mean when we say cult of the old, cult of the new?
Right. So cult of the old are those people who really love the older games.
Yeah.
They don't usually buy into the hype of any new games. They want it to be a proven game. It's a classic. It's here. You can dig into it. You can learn all of the strategy behind that game. That's at least what I think of when I think of cult of the new or cult of the old. I'm sorry. It's
mostly about being a game that stood the test of time, a proven game.
Right.
That's good for a period of time, like a good period of time.
Yeah. You need like one or two, maybe a handful of games that you just play.
Yeah.
And just play those games. That's what I think of when I think of cult of the old.
Okay. And then cult of the new?
Cult of the new is like, what's next? What's the next new shiny thing that's coming? It's the exciting, right?
Yeah.
The cult of the new, it's like that gets more attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Our world today, especially in the board gaming world, favors cult of the new.
Yes. Well, and I was thinking about this because the board gaming hobby is kind of, it's an entertainment, right?
Yeah.
It's not something we need to have or anything like that. It's part of entertainment. So I started thinking of other areas that are entertainment based and seeing like if we applied the same standard to those. And so the first thing on my mind was, of course, movies.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, yes, people have their favorite movies. There's classic movies, especially, the ones that have all the nostalgia. You watch them every Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely an element of like, oh, they just don't make movies like this anymore.
Sure.
There's that. But you wouldn't ever be like, I can't believe you're going to go see that new movie.
Right.
It's just so overhyped.
Right. And all the energy, all the anticipation is all for new things.
Yes.
In the movie industry.
Yes.
Right. So.
Yeah. What's coming out? What's next?
Yeah.
And I thought about it in books too. Like we do have this, like the classics, reading the classics, there is something to that, but it's also like there's constant new books coming out.
Right.
People read hundreds of books. I don't read hundreds of books a year, but somebody does.
Yeah.
It's not me. But I still think like people read a lot of new things coming in, and it's always like, what's new, what's hot when you go into Barnes and Noble and stuff like that. That's always there.
Yeah. So that also translates into the board gaming community and the hobby, right? So we're always just wanting that new game, that next new thing.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking about this, like, I think that all of the new coming in is actually a really good thing for the hobby.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's always different things. Oh, you didn't like that game. There's something right around the corner that you might enjoy.
Right.
I think that it's been able to bring a lot more people into the hobby because the sections at Target, the sections at Barnes and Noble, they are getting bigger and bigger with more games. And I think more people are checking them out and saying, hey, what's this? We've not done this. This doesn't look like our normal family game night or whatever. So I think that's been a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are of the perspective that the more people that we can get into the hobby, the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so we don't have an exclusivist mindset in that regard.
Definitely not. Also, like you were talking about before we did this, when we were kind of brainstorming a little bit, you were saying something about highlighting the classics.
Yeah. So while we are very much engrossed in the new and what's coming, I didn't want us to neglect or forget the games that came before.
Sure.
Those classic games that paved the way for all the other games that came in that genre. Like the instance I thought of was Dominion. Right. So Dominion, it was the first like real big deck building game, right? But it paved the way for so many other deck building games that have borrowed and were inspired by Dominion, and that's really cool to me. So I just wanted to maybe take a minute and honor and respect those games that came before too. You know, it's
those
like
designers who like were so creative in what they were coming up with. They came up with those really amazing,
the trailblazers and the the innovators and things of that nature. So I don't ever want to forget those classic games. Like in fact, we're doing an entire playlist where we are doing that. We're saying, hey, these are older games that we haven't played yet, and we want to go back and play them and see what all the hype is about for those games. And
and honestly, I have loved that. That has been so good for our gaming. Like I have loved every minute of those games.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're classics for a reason.
They are.
We're in the same boat of like, hey, we're always looking at what's coming out, what's new, what can we get, but also I wanted us to not forget.
Don't neglect
those other games that are older.
One thing that you can, like an argument you can have for the cult of the new, is that a lot of times, because those games came before, they are able to build upon those. So like when we go back and play Dominion, it was awesome. It was a great deck building game, but that's literally all it does is deck build. And so when you take that and you're like, but now there's Clank. And Clank takes that deck building and it makes it better, in my opinion. I think Clank's a better game than Dominion.
Yeah, it is. And adds a lot.
No hate.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it's better. Yeah, it
adds a lot more elements to it, in enhancing the deck building.
Right. Aeon's End. It feels like it took a lot of elements from Dominion.
Yeah.
And it's a better game.
It is.
It's a better game because of it. And so, yes, we can say, okay, the classics are important, but also because of the new, we're able to constantly revise. Right? So those publishers and designers are all revising and improving. And so it feels like, okay, the next big thing is around the corner. And sometimes it is. Like sometimes a great game is right around the corner because they've revised it and made it better.
Yeah, that's right.
One argument for the cult of the old is that the hype of a game fades away. And I definitely see that argument because there are a lot of games that you're like, oh, wow, people were raving about this game. And a year later, I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
And so there are games that are like
flash in the pan.
They're here today, gone tomorrow. People are excited about it and then never again. And I feel like that about some games that we've played. Like I was really excited about it, loved that game, and then it just kind of went away. It fades.
Yeah. I would say that there are not a ton of games that have that lasting power, that over the decades they're still talked about, they're still played. There's not a lot of those. Like you said, there could be that next classic. That's right around the corner that's going to be around for the next 20 years. And talked about and played. And so we always want to be playing what's coming out, what's new, but also, like I said, remembering and playing those old games too, because they're there for a reason.
I think this does play a role, but I don't know how big of a role, but for some people probably more than others. But anyway, the fear of missing out, the FOMO, right? Because you see some content creator or somebody say something about a game and there is that FOMO element of like, ooh, I want that one.
I definitely struggle with this sometimes.
I do too sometimes. We talked about Wondrous Creatures, and that was one that I kind of had FOMO about because it was a really cool game. I really wanted to play it. And then when I went to go buy it, they were gone. And I was like, no, I missed it, And I was like, I know it would be one that we would like. But honestly, like if they have staying power, in reality, they're gonna like bring it back.
Yeah.
Publishers are going to release more copies.
That's
and
right.
so, because they're there to make money.
That's right.
And so if it's worth it, then it'll come back.
Yep. And it did.
And it did. And
Yeah.
now we have it. And it's great.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing is like you kind of have to set that FOMO aside.
Yeah.
If you're a cult of the new person, because I'm kind of a cult of the new person. And so I have to set that FOMO aside and be like, okay, if it's worth it, it'll come.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that we actually do that is we don't back Kickstarters.
Yeah.
We've been tempted.
Although
on many occasions.
this is where I could get in trouble.
Right.
Because I want to back a lot of stuff.
Yes.
But we hold off on that.
Yes. And it's not because I don't want to support those designers that are creating, especially small publishers and things. Like I want them to be able to make their game and their creations and stuff. I think Kickstarters are, a really good thing for the hobby for the most part. Any kind of crowdfunding. But for us, the money, it's a lot. I don't know if it's something that we're really going to like because all Kickstarters, like you're like, oh, it's like the best thing ever. But then, it does fade. And so that's just one of the ways that we kind of make sure our dollars go a little bit further.
Yeah.
Is that we don't typically back Kickstarters.
Yeah. Yeah, we may have to wait and buy it after the fact and pay more money or maybe not get as much cool stuff with it.
The deluxe stuff.
Yeah, but we're okay with that.
Yeah, I try not to look at it too much so that I'm not like, oh, but did you see those pieces?
Yeah, I definitely can't do that.
No, you can't do that. So from a content creator's perspective, I will say that if you're talking about new games, that content is always going to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, the playlist that I talked about where we're late to the party playing older games, it doesn't do as well statistically as videos that we do of like our top 10 or here are the new games that we're playing or things like that. It just doesn't do as well. Yeah,
because I think the vast majority of people are going to watch content not about games that they already know about. They're trying to find games that they don't know much about. Yeah. That's why they're watching the content, which makes sense to me.
Yeah, and totally fine.
And
we do the same thing.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And so I totally understand why it's that way, but it is part of the cult of the new. It is that. And so content creators do tend to trend toward the new because
it does better.
That's what people want. Yeah. That's what people are watching. Right. And so we tried to do some of both. And honestly, we're late to the party series. We're doing it because we love it. Yeah. Because we're having a blast with it.
Right.
And the people that watch it seem to really enjoy those. They don't get a lot of views, but the ones that do watch it tend to really enjoy those.
Yeah, which is great.
It is, and I don't mind that much.
Yeah, I don't either.
So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.
And tell us down below in the comments, what is your preference? Cult of the old, cult of the new? We definitely want to hear about it.
And why.
And why. Good point.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.